We have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful first speaker today. Actually, I had the pleasure of saying hello to him just moments before I came up on stage. And I have this thing where I hate to mispronounce people's names. And he is from he's Danish, so that means you're from Denmark, right? Yeah, all right. I was going to say you're from Danish. Yeah. And I tried to pronounce his first name about 4 times, and I screwed it up each time. So today he is Mikael. All right, so I'm going to be inviting Mikael up. Mikael Colville-Andersen. Mikael is an urban designer, author, and leading global voice in urbanism. He's also just a really cool guy. Just in the 5 minutes that we spoke, I just really, really want to know a lot more about what you do. He's worked in over 100 cities around the world, advising about how to design and embrace bicycle and pedestrian-friendly streets in order to improve urban life. He founded the Copenhagenize Design Company in 2009 in Copenhagen. He actually flew in from Copenhagen to be here today. I'm impressed with that. In charge of the Copenhagenize Index, the most comprehensive and holistic ranking of bicycle-friendly cities on this planet Earth. He is also the host of the urbanism documentary series, The Life-Sized City. And with that, please introduce Mikael.
Okay, cool. Always great to come to Florida. I see a lot of faces from the Florida APA conference that I keynoted last year. It's always cool to hang out with you. I flew in from Copenhagen, and my bag still hasn't arrived 3 days later. So if you saw me at the Mass District with a glass of wine last night, you might think I didn't go home, like I've been out all night. Unfortunately, I didn't stay out all night. I'm not saying I don't have a hangover, though, okay? Nobody said that. That was a cool event last night. But yeah, so I've been working around the world as an urban designer. And for 10 years, I focused on bicycle-friendly cities, bicycle urbanism, as I call it. And there's a book signing later today. And I wrote the book after 10 years of thinking, philosophizing, all my experiences, and I put it all into this one volume on the left. The Definitive Guide to Global Bicycle Urbanism. Everything we need to take the bicycle seriously as transport, to put the bicycles back into our cities, very important because every city used to be bicycle friendly. And it's all there in one book. Now I do other things. I've broadened my scope. I work in other parts of urbanism. I know who's going to read the big book. It's going to be hopefully people like you who want to make cities better and use the bicycle to do that. But I published a book last year kind of for fun. It's the one on the right. And a short introduction to bicycle urbanism for people who don't give a fuck. Because that's a lot of people still, man. We've had this conversation for like years and we're still, so I wrote this one for fun. I might even had a hangover that day when I wrote it, but I write it directly to the skeptics, the NIMBYs, the whiners, the haters, so it's sort of a fun read. It's the book that we buy to give to the person who will hate it the most. So, that one colleague we all have, slip it onto their desk or stocking stuffer at Christmas. So it's more of a fun one. It's available online, but the other one, we're going to do a book signing. That's going to be cool later on. But one of the things I do now is I have the world's first global series about urbanism, the life-size city. And I travel around the world curating all of these amazing things that are happening, stuff we never hear about in places we never go. And it is just an amazing journey. I'm filming season 4 now, and just the people that I have met all over the planet who are just really taking urbanism and citizen urbanism to the next level. It's fantastic. And it's really cool to stand here today because it's in 16 countries. And finally, there's going to be an American broadcaster, KCET in LA, has bought it. And it's going to be on Link TV. And it'll be available for streaming after they show the episodes. They're going to show seasons 1 and 2 from the 17th of March. So I'm so proud of this series. And I'm really proud of all the people that I've met. So I hope you're going to watch it. I hope you're going to share it. So I've been thinking a lot for many, many years, and with the life-size city, I kind of realized, there's a whole bunch of pattern here, right? There's these elements that we should employ if we're going to make our cities more life-size. So I kind of put it together in, if you remember your chemistry from high school, the table of elements. I made my own table using all the things that I think we need. And if you remember your chemistry, which I barely do, but I looked it up when I made this. We have some, these rare elements that we never really see, in chemistry. And I got some of those. I got reformed engineers. There's a real rare element. We're seeing more and more engineers who get it, right? But still, it's a bit of a struggle. Visionary politicians, yeah, they don't grow on trees. That's a rare element. Again, momentum around the world. We're seeing more of that. Developers who get it. I work a lot with developers, and they're probably the last people to show up at the bar here because it's really important that the developers are on board and think about the future. And then there's back to the future, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I call this the age of urbanism. We are thinking differently about our cities and towns more than ever, more than we have in the last 100 years. There's something happening, man. It's all over the world, and there's no one collective movement. It's in Buenos Aires, in Tokyo, in Toronto, in Melbourne. People are starting to think differently. Not just us who work in the industry, but just the regular citizens. It is the age of urbanism. Talking about streets and safe streets and just city streets in general, it's really important for me to highlight the fact that for 7,000 years of urban history, when we started to live together in cities, the streets were the most democratic space in the history of Homo sapiens. We did everything in the streets. We transported ourselves, sure. We gossiped, we flirted, we found our partners, we started revolutions, we just hung out in the streets. They were our living rooms for 7,000 years. That changed drastically when we invented the automobile over 100 years ago, and it was really, putting the car into our cities was the greatest paradigm shift in the history of our cities. Absolute game changer, and not a lot of it very positive. But going back to the future, this is what I'm seeing happening all over the world. Now, I'm from Copenhagen, right? It's a benchmark city in many, many ways. But, this is 3 photos from the same location in the heart of the city. And, 1907, it was like streets everywhere on the planet. Every city in the world had really, people-friendly streets, people hanging out, transporting themselves, doing whatever. Even in Copenhagen. Copenhagen has not always been Copenhagen. We did the same mistakes as everybody else around the world in the 50s and 60s. We, bulldozed, removed sidewalks, removed a lot of cycle tracks, and we tried to push as many cars into the city as possible. What we're doing now is the photo on the right. That's what it looks like today. Right? And we're seeing this around the world. And it really is, we're going back to the future. We're going back to a place where we were rational and intelligent about urban planning. And the car came along and kind of really screwed everything up in our heads. And that singular focus has never been healthy for cities. But this is happening around the world. If we talk about climate change, it is really, if you think about it, it's a very global narrative, right? It's polar bears far away dying, it's glaciers melting and whatnot. I just really think that this global narrative is not very helpful. I think that cities and towns are the absolute key to tackling climate change. Local urban change is easy, and it has an immediate effect. National policy, getting national politicians to agree to sign, treaties and whatnot, man, it's just like pulling teeth, But in our cities, in our neighborhoods, we can do a lot more, a lot faster. And I think we should really realize the potential, and we're not doing it enough yet. But generally, there's no shortage of material for me anywhere in the world to film the life-size city, man. It is just an amazing experience. In cities, we're going to talk about streets and whatnot. Generally in cities, there's a lot of things that we need to do, and we need to change a lot of questions, the same questions we've been asking for decades. It's time to change them. Regarding streets, this is the one we need to change as quickly as possible. For really, the better part of 70, 80 years, we only asked one question of our traffic engineers. How many cars can we fit down this street? Meaning, how many more can we squeeze down there, right? One question. We know now that there's no answer to this. We know that basically all we've learned from a century of traffic engineering after the car showed up is that if you make more space for cars, you get more cars. Induced demand. We don't hear that enough, man. It's really something that we got to hammer. More space for cars, more cars. So we need to change this question. And all the cool kids, all the cool cities around the world are doing that. They're changing one word in this question. They're asking, how many people can we move down a street? It changes all the answers when you change that one word. How many people? Using all the cool stuff we've invented, bikes, trams, streetcars, trains and everything like that. Man, the model I made at the bottom there, it's just a quick Photoshop model, but it literally has 10 times the capacity for moving people down a street than the model that we just keep copy-pasting from the 1950s into our cities all over the world. 10 times the capacity for moving people. I like to get excited. If I can't get excited about my work and about the people I meet and the things I do in my industry, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. So I want to make you excited. This is going to be a little stream of consciousness about a bunch of cool stuff that I've seen around the world. Stuff that are unique things, but stuff that is useful to any urban context in any country. I like to work a lot with design thinking, and of course now a lot of focus in many cities around the world on climate change initiatives. And I was just speaking in the Panhandle last year at 3 different keynotes, and I was at the Seaside Institute talking about hurricanes and disaster prevention and management and whatnot. Incredibly interesting for me, coming from Denmark, where we don't have hurricanes or really any kind of bad weather, except it's cold. So it's super fascinating for me to get my brain into that. But this is just some cool stuff that I've seen, man. Tokyo, Japan, they're awesome. Like they're so pragmatic, and they're really good at design. So they have disaster parks. Like, it sounds like an amusement park, right? But it's a disaster park. So this is the one in a neighborhood somewhere in Tokyo. They're all over the country. And it's a transformer park. Like, the 12-year-old in me is just going, what? Get out. This is awesome. The benches where you sit and look at the cherry blossoms, right, in this neighborhood, they transform in a flash into barbecues. Not for the weekend, not for the football game, but when the earthquake strikes or the tsunami strikes. This is where all the people in the neighborhood gather. They do constant drills in Japan. Everybody goes down and practices because the earthquake could be today or it could be in 20 years. But it's coming. They all know it. They're very pragmatic about it. So, I mean, benches become barbecues. Then you walk along on the photo on the right. There's all these little holes in the ground, like with metal lids. And then in a flash, they're transformed into toilets in the event of a disaster. They have like these structures, great for a little community event. You know, you're gonna have a birthday in the park, you can use that structure on the left. In a flash, it transforms into a shelter. Even the playground on the right, the jungle gym where kids are playing, in a flash, it transforms into an emergency shelter when the disaster strikes. Incredibly interesting design thinking, you know, double designing something, but it has a very important purpose for when the disaster hits. But there's like simple solutions as well. This guy's in Medellin in Colombia. He's just a software engineer. He just got an idea. He didn't like bang any drums and apply for any funding. He went, He looks up the mountains in Medellin and all of the informal settlements, right? The shanty towns, the favelas, all the different words. And they don't have any lights. You know, they hack into the grid, try to get electricity and water and whatnot. They're ignored by the city below. And he goes, they don't have any street lights. It was a simple thing. He's going, like, it's dark up there. Like, how do they see at night in this mountainous terrain? And they have massive problems with sexual assault and rape, traffic crashes, people falling down stairs because it's mountainous and they can't see. So he bought a whole bunch of these solar-powered lamps on eBay and just went up the mountains and said, hey, I'm from down there, but you want to help me? I got this cool idea. And he empowers the citizens, engages them, and they go, my God, streetlights, what a concept, let's do that. So they literally set up streetlights so they have light for the first time outside. And now he says you can see this neighborhood. Like, and the visual thing, I can see it from down below in the valley. That gives them dignity. And they have cooler lights than the city. They have the cool LED lights, right? And the city still has like the yellowy kind of lights. Simple idea, and I'm one man doing the thing. And really, so many of the people I meet around the world, it's just one person going, I have an idea, and I'm just going to do it, right? No fuss. They just go and they do it. That's really the sign of the age of urbanism. Hamilton in Canada, it's like the Pittsburgh of Canada, steel town. There's this multi-use trail cut off by a fossil fuel infrastructure, this motorway, this highway flyover that they put in the 70s, and there's no lights on it. And so these two citizens, this couple, like in their 50s, they're going like, let's just do an event a couple times a year, lighting up the whole pathway with little candles in bags and sand, and they have an event underneath the highway with a concert and whatnot. They're doing it because they need to do it, but they're hoping that the city will notice and say, okay, damn, yeah, why don't we have lights there? It's going to be safer for everybody. Everybody will feel safer, And, you can go back to Medellin and you can do it for, I calculated how much it would cost. About $5,000 to actually put in these solar-powered lights, along this stretch. Citizens taking charge. This is what it looks like in my neighborhood. We suffer from, in our climate change thing, is flooding. We're getting torrential rain like we've never had it before, frequently. Cloud bursts like we've never seen before. So our neighborhoods in Copenhagen get flooded like this quite frequently. A lot of cities around the world have had rivers or streams that they buried in the 1950s and 60s to make more space for cars and parking and whatnot. But a lot of cities now are realizing that was stupid. So now they're digging them up. Seoul in Korea, there's many cities that are doing it. Milan has an amazing network of canals, but there's only like 10 kilometers of them left. And the mayor of Milan, he's going, oh, we're digging that up. Like, that's just stupid. So let's bring water back to the city, man. Those canals were awesome for centuries, Let's bring them back. And who doesn't want to live next to water? It's awesome. What he discovered by doing so is that when it floods in Milan, which it is doing more and more now, they actually are more effective than the pipes the water was put in since the 1950s and 60s. So he's actually solved an important part of his problem with flooding in Milan and creating destinations and a better city. In Copenhagen, there's a green roof policy. All new structures have to have a green roof for two reasons. Biodiversity is an important one, supporting insect life. This is one of the train stations in Copenhagen, remodeled a couple years ago. That's that's grass and sod on the roof. But it also serves a purpose for cloudburst mitigation, right? So when it rains, that sod soaks up thousands and thousands of gallons of water that otherwise would just go down onto the street and flood. So we're doing this, that's a policy decision. Even in my neighborhood, we have what we call a bioswale. So we have in Copenhagen, we have the road, and then we have a cycle track, and then a sidewalk, right? Cycle tracks always parallel to the sidewalks, never in the door zones. And this appeared after the summer. Next level bioswale, because that street floods a lot. So they created a reservoir. So it looks nice when you're riding your bike or walking past, but then when it rains, it fills up as a reservoir, getting the water away from our homes. All the plant life in there is designed, or chosen because it can be drowned in a rain event and still survive and whatnot. Just even like the manhole covers, with the dome, they just pulled out all the stops here. And really, with all of this, the climate change challenges we have in Denmark, it is massive investment. We're really trying to fix this in every Danish city. This is in Copenhagen. That triangle was some public space and a lot of car parking in a very densely populated neighborhood. Now, this is the transformation we're seeing all over the place. It's an awesome opportunity to make our neighborhoods better and solve our problems with cloudbursts and rain events. So it's a reservoir. All the water in the neighborhood is now going to flow into this park during a rain event. And it'll act as a reservoir. The water will slowly dissipate. The rest of the time when it's not raining, it's an awesome public space. It's parks, it's a little amphitheater. There's all sorts of things going on in this space. So, and no more car parking either, which makes that a better neighborhood as well. But a massive investment in my country, even small scale. People don't even notice it. They're just walking along and they go, oh, that's like a bit of green. That's awesome. But all of these little sponges, as we call them, have this purpose of soaking up a lot of water during a rain event. We're making the city greener and solving a very serious problem at the same time. I even have some designs of my own. We have our, cycle tracks network in Copenhagen. And I thought, well, we have this existing, infrastructure, so why don't we just tunnel it out, cut and cover, and then we can get a lot of water off the streets and down to the harbor during a massive rain event as well. I was working in New Orleans last year, and I was out with a really cool NGO, or two NGOs. The conversation in New Orleans is like, how do we learn to live with water? For decades, they've tried to engineer water out of their city, out of their lives. Now, what I was told in New Orleans was that Hurricane Katrina, devastating, absolutely devastating. It wasn't the hurricane, it was the bad engineering from the 1960s to stop the flooding. But it failed miserably, and that's what was the major problem in New Orleans. So we're out there at this one guy's home with this NGO who does this around the city, jackhammering the asphalt. That feels so good, I can tell you. Just getting rid of this asphalt, non-permeable asphalt that just causes the flooding everywhere where we have it, and planting local species of plants that are quite good at absorbing hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water during a rain event. Nature kind of figured that one out for us, right? And we made permeable surfaces around it, gave them a rain collection barrel. It rained the next day by wonderful design. And we went back, and the whole street was flooded, just like an inch of water, with lots of big puddles and everything. Around this guy's house was dry as a bone. And I was just like, we were going, wow, that works. This is something that, imagine if all of New Orleans had this, all the homes in New Orleans, man, they would solve a lot of their problems with flooding. Simple thoughts. I know density is a real hard conversation in North America after decades of sprawl and car dependency in the suburbs and whatnot, compared to other countries in the world. It's really important, though. Density is just the hottest thing that we're talking about around the world in urbanism. An American city is maybe not going to be like Barcelona, like you see here, or my neighborhood with 12,000 people per square kilometer. But density is not just tall buildings and condos. You can have the most densely populated neighborhood in North America is it's called the Plateau in Montreal. They have no tall buildings at all. It's all 3, 4, 5-story walk-ups, right? So density is not just condos, right? Density can be done better. This is one of my kids when he was cute. He's 17. He's a big stupid teenager now, right? But man, I remember when he was nice. We go around the neighborhood, not anymore because I don't know where he is anymore, but we used to go around the neighborhood and just fill in all the gaps with our Lego, our Danish Lego, right? But urban infill is incredibly important, filling in the gaps. You know, you got a whole area development you got to work on. Oh my God, that's like a big job. But there's a lot of gaps we can fill in. Malmo, the third largest city in Sweden, they can sprawl. They're in the middle of nowhere. They have lots of room to sprawl, but they said, no, we're done. They have a policy saying no more sprawl. They're going to build dense now. They're going to build up instead of out. Incredibly visionary policy from this city. It's about 350,000 people, right across from Copenhagen. I got a lot of stuff from Hamilton here because I was working there last year. But they, in a lot of this North American thing, you know it well, but like, the back alleys, the laneways that you in so many cities have, which we don't have in Europe. There's a lot of potential for housing. And Hamilton, like so many North American cities, killed off their downtown. Through the 50s and 60s with sprawl and whatnot. So they were desperately trying to get life back into the downtown. For really 100 years, people lived in laneway housing, like the little purple one there. It's like from 1895. In the 50s, they had a policy saying, yeah, we're done with that. Go buy a house in the suburbs, all right? Sprawl, go for it. So you weren't allowed to live in the laneways. They just reversed this policy after 60 years, 70 years, last year. So now you're allowed to live in laneway housing, existing structures or building a new one. The tiny house movement is a thing. It's not going anywhere, man. It's a hot conversation topic. A lot of people are content on living in a smaller footprint, which we did for 7,000 years in our cities as well. So that's a really cool policy change. Copenhagen, very well known for its street life, but in 2006, the city just streamlined the process of having outdoor seating outside bars or restaurants or cafes. It was expensive and bureaucratic. Now it's cheaper and super quick. And it was almost overnight. Even the mayor in charge, I was talking to him, and I'm going, did you expect? He says, I had no idea. It was a good idea. Just transform the city. Every cafe, every dive bar has a table outside with like a wilted flower in a vase. Everybody has it. We sit out way later into the winter than we've ever done. We start earlier than we've ever done. It transformed a city that was pretty good at it already, and it just one colleague of mine, he said, we've just eliminated winter. That was pretty cool. Policy, and we eliminated winter, right? And now we can sit out there with heating lamps, blankets and whatnot, and just have a glass of wine, like in November or December, right? Really cool policy change. Montreal has some cool stuff going on. They got a really cool mayor. She's doing amazing stuff. This is in a laneway on the right. It's just a garage. That laneway is just asphalt. It looks like every other one in North America. But then, you walk down there like in the morning, you don't see anything. You come back in the afternoon, and that door's up, and there's a really good restaurant in there with like really good wine list, So they're allowing this now, saying we got to create life, and let the citizens take charge. They turned 375 years old, Montreal, a couple of years ago, and one of the things they did was like, let's have 2,000 parklets in the city. I've never seen that scale anywhere in the world. Citizens could apply and design them themselves, go out with some neighbors, and the city's going, do it, let's go crazy. After the year was finished, they left them. A lot of the citizens go, no, you can't take that away. That is super awesome. My grandma sits there, talks to her friend. Like, you got to keep it. It changed the conversation by placing it on the urban landscape all over the city, and it created a whole different context for the locals. Why didn't we have that before was really what they were saying. In Hamilton, I was mentioning before, they have a concert underneath this this highway here. I listened to an amazing cello concert, just lit by candlelight. And I talked to the chief planner, and I'm going, dude, the citizens are doing this. Why don't you just go into those two pillars and make like a stage? Just get two guys to take 2 days, wooden stage. Don't even do anything, just walk away. The citizens are going to go, oh my God, there's a stage now. Let's go to the next level. Let's have a new event. You got to enable the citizens. They're telling you what they want. Give it to them and let them run with it, man. In Copenhagen, we have a policy where if you're going to develop a new area or an old area, you have to have 5 years of citizen activation. The citizens have to have a sense of ownership over your development before you even build anything, and where we can do anything we want. An experimental phase of 5 years. So cool, man, to see that happen. Filling in the gaps is important. In the North American context, you have a lot of, you lost a lot of heritage buildings in some of your amazing downtowns that you used to have. This woman, I was just standing there, and this woman is crossing. It was really hot that day, and she just stopped in the middle of this parking lot. When does this end? Oh my God, and then she just sort of schlepped along, But filling in the gaps is important. You take like a city like Hamilton, which is really like a Rust Belt city, right? There's so many cities in the north of the States, definitely, that are very similar. Look at all those gaps. There used to be beautiful buildings there that are now gone, and it's just car parking. Take some of that and activate it. Give it to the citizens. tactical urbanism, do whatever, make a park. If the developer's going to wait 10 years to do anything, give it back to the citizens for that period. Windsor in Canada, the Detroit of Canada, right across the water, they have a lot of teeth missing, from the decline and whatnot. A lot of buildings knocked down, and they, normally a property owner will just put up fences. Don't walk onto my property where nothing's happening. There's nothing to break. It's just an empty lot. And so Windsor said, yeah, we're done with that. You can't fence off your property. If you're not going to do anything with it, then you got to take down the fences, create better access in the neighborhoods. This is an awesome shortcut now between two streets in Windsor, and some of them are completely covered in nice grass. Citizens are using it to hang out, kids are playing, until the developer decides to do something. Policy. We have to engage our citizens, man, because they are the absolute experts. The greatest minds at our disposal. Montreal, they have this really cool event. 300 people, 400 people doing a potluck twice a year in a laneway, activating that space, hanging out with their neighbors, which they never did before. In Toronto, they have the Laneway Project. The city actually went, okay, for God's sakes, fine. We'll recognize this and let it happen. The citizens on this laneway, they're going like, that's just an empty, we just drive down there and drive into our garage. That's all we use it for. This is public space, man. Let's do something. So they got all their neighbors together. I was out there planting plants. We were painting the garages, a nice color, crazy art, barbecue, music. They're taking back this public space. And the city is enabling them because of their idea. I worked in Cape Town in really probably the poorest place I've ever been in my life, the poorest neighborhood, absolutely shockingly poor in the informal settlements in Cape Town, where 3 million people live in conditions like this. The guy on the bottom left grew up in this township, and he, against all the odds, educated himself as a town planner, and he goes back into his township to work with the people. And I was working with them, and it was these are some of the strongest humans I've ever met, man. Especially the woman with the baby. She was amazing. And the thing is, nobody ever asks them what they need, We're all so clever, urban planners. Yeah, I learned this, and hey, poor people, we're going to give you this. There you go, see you later, right? Thank me later, right? If you survive. And we just go in there and saying, yeah, what do you need? We're just going to listen, right? He does this all the time. I was just privileged to be a part of this one project. And they are the experts. The citizens of our cities, they know exactly where every single pothole is. You can never know that in the planning office. They know, yeah, there's a little thing here, and there's a thing here, and all these tiny things need to be fixed. These people, of course, have bigger issues. The city doesn't really care about them, right? All of these 3 million people. So they give them some outhouses. Concrete outhouses, and not enough at all. There's some lights, but it's stadium car parking lot lights. Really, it doesn't do anything to light up the place. And they're going, yeah, the woman there with the baby, she's going, yeah, the toilet should be distributed throughout the settlement because I don't want to get raped when I'm going pee in the middle of the night, right? Sexual assault and rape at night. And we can maybe widen some of the streets, talk to our neighbors. It's a real community, man. It's a strong community. So, can you maybe move your house over there so we can maybe have a little bit more public space here? And all of these incredibly important issues. Nobody asks them, and we listened. And they have better ideas than everybody in this room put together because they live in that every single day. The citizens, man, it's time to start asking them and starting to pick their brains and taking them seriously as part of the team. You probably heard of betterblock.org, and there's Team BetterBlock. Amazing project. This is one of the most amazing things I've seen. They go into cities around all over North America now. After did a bit of tactical urbanism 10 years ago or so, they move in and cities hire them to make blocks better. We can talk until the cows come home, right? Talk is cheap. Hey, we need bike lanes. I hate bike lanes. Okay, but we need bike lanes. I hate bike lanes. But then I want to put some trees in. We don't need trees. My parking's you're gonna take away my parking. As soon as you do it, people are going, oh, that's what a bike lane actually looks like in my neighborhood. Cool. There are so many examples around the world, people just doing it, and then it changes the conversation, right? If you just keep talking about it, you're gonna be nimbified for the rest of your life. Projects like this are amazing. They show you what is possible and advance the conversation to a more intelligent place. Checking the time there. So in Copenhagen, we have this app from the city. We've had it for years, website and an app. If I see something wrong, like a garbage can that it's never emptied for some reason, photo, send, boom. The deal is that there's a task force who actually answer these emails, and they fix the things that they can fix within about a couple of weeks, right? So I've been telling people about this for years. A couple of years ago, I actually used it. I'm the guy going, oh, we have this app. It's so amazing. I'm riding my bike to work, and the street was repaved So like fresh asphalt when you're riding a bike is like, oh yes. And then I got to the end of the street where that red field is there, and it wasn't paved. It was like somebody forgot. And I'm going, why? What happened here? It's like, oh my God. So I said, oh, I'm going to use that app I tell everybody about. Photo, send, boom. Okay. I get to work. I got an email. Thank you for your tip. We'll get back to you within a week. I'm going, okay, whatever. I was busy working. A week later, I get an email. Hi, Michael. Like personal email. Yeah, I'm this guy from the city. Weird they didn't pave it, but we looked into that and we didn't know it either. For some bizarre historical reason 200 years ago, the owner of that building has to pave the street. And we've sent an email, and he has to do it within 2 weeks, otherwise we're going to fine him, and blah, blah, blah. And I went, cool. A week later, I'm going to work, and it was paved, right? Like the owner had to do it, right? He's going to get fined. And I'm going, I stopped my bike, and I'm going, I did this, right? Like I'm the dude who does this for cities. I have so much asphalt notches on my belt from around the world. Like I'm the king of bike lane asphalt. But I work with this, and I'm going, oh my God, I did this. I wanted to like wave at other cyclists. I made this. All right, high five. Okay, Imagine if this dude gets excited and empowered by this system the city has. Imagine what like a regular citizen, Joe Public, Jane Public, they're going to feel absolutely empowered, right? And it's really a cool thing, listening to the citizens. If we're going to talk about citizen engagement, we got to talk about kids, and I'm really talking about kids in the urban context. This is my daughter. She's also, she's not big and stupid yet. She's 12, but she's getting there. Kids, man, we got to use them in urban planning. And I'm not talking about let's have a little workshop and, oh, you're so Instagrammable. That's a nice idea. Yeah, I'm talking about taking them seriously. That kid, Lulu, my daughter, I call her the world's youngest urbanist. From 3.5, she just blurted stuff out. Like I'm going, what? I'm like, I'm writing down these nuggets of observations. Never conversation, right, with these kids. It's just like, she just says stuff. And it was amazing. And we were walking around our neighborhood one day, and she was like 4, I think, at the time. And we're just holding hands, waiting to cross the street or whatever. And she was kind of quiet, looking around. And out of the blue, she turns and looks up at me. And she says, Daddy, when is my city going to fit me? Wow. It killed me. I'm going, oh, not another one. My notebook's getting filled. I'm going, oh my God. Of course, you're smaller than a small thing, man. Everything's out of scale for you. Garbage cans or basketball hoops, Of course. You'll grow, though. Don't worry, girl. You're going to be fine. And she kind of gave me like the kids, they got these faces. It's like, it's a rhetorical question, Dad. Jeez, right? There's that face. And I'm going, no, but what happened to me was I could not get this out of my head. For like 3 weeks, I'm just thinking about it. And I'm going, does my city fit me? Like, seriously, big old Michael here, does that fit me? Yeah, Copenhagen, man, lots of places, riding my bike. It's like they designed it for me. Whoever designed it had a poster of Michael saying, we're making it for him. And that's how it should feel for everybody, right? And most cities in the world, we need to work on it, right? But what I did, I said, I honored her observation by giving it a name. I called it the life-size city. So that's where the name of the TV series came from. This little kid here, I hope she doesn't lawyer up when she gets older. Yeah, that was me. Copyright infringement, and intellectual property, Daddy. But yeah, the life-size city, man. Every city we should feel like it fits us like a glove. You can do it in New York, Times Square, right? The transformation of Times Square, removing the traffic, chaos for decades. Now it's just like people eating ice cream. It's just nice. Yeah, okay. You don't have to worry about the buildings. Like Vancouver is the best city really for tall buildings because the buildings land well, right? You walk along the street and you're going, oh, there's a cool little shop. There's a cool little shop. You don't notice 60 floors. It's a really, really good policy they have there. I have a podcast called The Life-Size City where I just recently interviewed the former chief planner from Vancouver, Brent Todorin. And he talks a lot about how buildings should land well, and Vancouver is a benchmark. These people, colleagues of mine in Buenos Aires, a little NGO, Urbanismo Vivo, right? They do play streets. They close down streets, activate the citizens, get them out to paint the streets. We do that a lot all over the world. That's not a new thing. But they do stuff with kids, which I think is super cool. They get the kids to lead the parents around their neighborhood, blindfolded or with their eyes closed. And these kids, man, they take that seriously. It's like, oh my God, I have an adult. They could die. It's my job to keep them alive. But they don't talk to the kids. What should be better in your neighborhood, little Bobby, right? Well, there's probably no Bobbies in Argentina, but you know what I mean. But they just sit and record what the kids are saying, right? It's what they say when they're not asked. But when they're enabled, that's the gold right there, man. And these kids are going along, okay, mommy, watch out, there's a tree branch that's sticking out of the sidewalk. It's pretty big. Oh, it's not big for you because you're a grown-up, but it's big for me. So anyway, be careful, step over. Okay, Dad, don't be afraid at the corner because it's quiet on this street, but then there's a lot of traffic on this street. So don't be scared when the noise level goes up. We don't think about noise, but that little kid reveals to us that he's afraid, right? He thinks it's noisy on that big street. Not even the cars, just the noise of the cars. Like they'll never tell you that when you ask them. They're going to go, the grown-ups want grown-up answers, so I'll tell them what they want. No, when you listen to them, man, they got gold for us. I worked with kids as planners all over the world. I started with my son back when he was cute in the 3rd grade with his whole school class, right? I went into their 3rd grade class and I said, there's a thing called urban planning. Never mind. I didn't want to tell them anything about urban planning. I didn't want to influence them at all. I said, hey, but there's this roundabout outside your school, very densely populated neighborhood. They all use it every single day. Awesome separated cycle tracks. It's pretty safe. It's Copenhagen. And I said, I want you to go and fix that intersection, roundabout. Try and make it safer for bikes and pedestrians. And while you're at it, try to get people in cars to get out of their cars and choose another form of transport. See you Monday, right? They had a week for this, right? The teacher emails me the next day. He's going, what did you do to these kids? Like, I came back into the room and they're like divided up into work groups already. Like no teacher was involved. They're like, okay, you want to go in that group with him? Blah, blah, blah. And they all have their little tribes. They were like, they didn't care about their tribes. They just literally put together work groups, and he'd never seen that kid and that kid together. He was going, what? And they went out on site visits, right? And took note. Well, they didn't make notes. They did drawings. They're in the 3rd grade, for God's sake. They did drawings. They went back into the class and just took this conversation to a level he has never seen. They loved it. A grown-up asking them to do some really big job that they never even knew existed before, man. It was epic. And it was like, they had a week for it, right? And there's this one kid in the class on the Thursday, right? And I'm coming back on Monday. He's going, hey, so I think these architect-y kind of people like Michael, I think they do models. So I think we can't just tell Michael. We got to make a model. And the teacher's going, I don't think there's time for it. The rest of the class is going, oh my God, a model, we need a model. And so like above and beyond the call of duty, not even on their job list, they made a model of their intersection out of milk cartons. It was just epic, man. So cool. So this is the stuff that they came up with. The one kid said, hey, dude, just make cars ugly. Who wants ugly stuff, right? Duh. Another kid said, can we just maybe this kid was from Fort Lauderdale, but he said, can we just dig up all the streets and just kayak everywhere? I'm going, awesome, man. But whatever. The stuff below that is really, it just blew me away. So a lot of these kids, we live in Copenhagen, right? Only 9% of the population will drive to work or education each day. 63% ride a bike. So these kids, my kids spend 5 hours a year in a car, I've calculated. No more than that. Maybe on summer holidays we might rent a car if we're going to another country or whatever, because it's fun to drive a car in the summer, right? You guys go on holidays and you ride bikes along the beach. We go in Denmark, we go on holidays, go in a car, cool, right? Just for 2 weeks, right? But hey, anyway, like a lot of these other kids come from another part of the town, and they have, their parents have cars, and they spend more time in cars. So it's not like they're all just Copenhagen kids who are indoctrinated against cars. It was really a mix. So they said 15 kilometer an hour speed limit for cars. It's at 9 miles an hour or something, right? And I'm going, why? Where'd you get that number? And they're going, I don't know, it just kind of feels slow, They weren't allowed to Google or anything. And I'm going, man, it does feel slow. That is the average speed for cycling in Copenhagen and Amsterdam. When we collectively, 500,000 people in Copenhagen riding a bike, we all settle on 15, like 9 miles an hour as the average. So yeah, if the cars were going the same speed, damn, that would feel slow. That would safe street too, right? Traffic lights instead of the roundabout was an idea. Fences between the bikes and the cars, overkill, but this is the way they're thinking. One-way streets for cars in the neighborhood, make it difficult to drive, but not for anybody else. Speed bumps for the cars, and they all agreed that they wanted glass roofs over every street in the entire entire city, so they never got wet, rain, or snow ever again, right? They're going, yeah, we want that. That's the first thing we want, actually. I get it. But man, they identified, without any influence from anybody, that the car was the problem, right? If that street and that intersection is going to be safer, we got to tackle, the bull in the china shop. We got to, tame that bull. And they identified it. Not one thing they said was like, maybe we should send the bicycles on like another route, a detour, like a bicycle boulevard, as you call it over here. We tried that decades ago. It never worked. We gave people their desire line. So amazing. But the glass roofs, we're kind of doing it. We have in Denmark and the Netherlands on the left, we have separate bike traffic signals at every intersection, right? Like a little bike light, which often has a pre-green to prioritize cycling. But now there's rain sensors showing up. So if it's raining or snowing or too cold, cyclists get like 2, 3, or 4 times more crossings. We prioritize it. Get you home. Thanks for cycling in the rain, man. It's awesome, but we're going to get you home a bit quicker, right? The motorist is sitting there with their heater on, so it doesn't matter, right? There's a small delay, but that's it. We have the green wave leading to from all streets leading to the center of Copenhagen for bikes. 20 kilometers per hour, and you just sail into the city on a tech tailwind. You just never put your foot down because the lights are coordinated to get you into work or school and back again. Simple solutions. We don't need all this tech. I mean, trying to save the world with tech. We have a lot of stuff that works, and we can apply tech gently to these existing ideas and get a bigger win. That's kind of the Danish pragmatism. We don't need the big, Silicon Valley bombers coming in. We just have some cool stuff, and we can make it a little bit better. We can tweak it. We need to envision what we want. Like I said, talk is cheap, man. If we show people what's possible, we enable them, then we're going to get some wins. The greatest urban activists on the planet are in Riga, the capital of Latvia, not far from Denmark. They go to the next level with projects like this. There are cities like, we don't have any room for bikes. Nobody wants to sit outside in Latvia, God, in the winter, anytime. And they're going, yeah, they do. And they are a thorn in the city's side. So much so that the city actually converses with them now. They have an important role. The city listens to their activism. They just made this. They painted these buildings, and they put out, a cafe table. They put in a bike lane, and they're going, see, there is room. And they keep doing this constantly. Amazing. I do this myself. Even if it's Copenhagen, we have this big stupid street, this hangover from the 1950s, through the heart of the city, 50,000, 60,000 cars a day. And for decades, it comes up in conversations. That's really stupid. Yeah, I know. What should we do? Should we build a tunnel? Yeah, that's expensive. Okay, now, 10 years later, hell, that's really stupid. What should we do? Should we build a tunnel? That's expensive. It just never ends. So I went, okay, I'm changing this conversation, man. The people who drive there don't even live in Copenhagen. They don't even pay taxes in my city. So let's take back that space. So I designed, we also have a housing shortage, affordable housing shortage. So I designed 500 small apartments with amazing public space, very iconic kind of mountainous structure in a flat city. And I placed it right down the middle of that damn boulevard. Just me, right? I was just doing this visualization. When that hit the press, I got hate mail from people in the suburbs. Imagine getting hate mail because you're just making a building and putting it on a street. It's really bizarre. That's the internet though, right? We have no bike parking, really enough bike parking at Copenhagen Central Station. We have more people cycling in Copenhagen today than in the entire United States. That's the scale we're at in Copenhagen, right? We still suck at bike parking. So I went, okay, there's space above the rails behind the station. So I just designed this. I just made it. And when these things hit the press in Copenhagen, it changes the conversation. The city is now built, not my structure, but they're building a similar structure right now. I have nothing to do with it. I made no money on it. I don't care. I just want to change the conversation. Malmo, again, super interesting. They literally have a policy saying we want to be the world's best city for skateboarding. There's a dude, it's the only city in the world who has an urban planner who's a skateboard consultant. Yeah, we redesigned the square. Yeah, well, that looks pretty cool. Go talk to Gustav. Okay. Hey, Gustav, and he's going, I can't skate that shit. Damn. Wrong materials, seriously, go back and do your homework, man. Don't bring me that again. It's social inclusion, right? It's equity. They want to enable these kids, make them feel part of Swedish society. Amazing stuff. It's just skateboarding, man. It's fun to watch. You can just sit there on benches and kids are skating. Like, who doesn't? It's a fascinating thing to watch for everybody. We have to observe. Oh my God, the citizens are telling us everything we need. Desire lines, right? This is in Cape Town. You can just see, this is what Homo sapiens have done for 300,000 years. Carved paths through the dirt. And then a street shows up later, right? The citizens have been doing this urban democracy for millennia. Montreal, great example. They have a railway. It's been there 150 years. It cuts off 2 densely populated neighborhoods now. Before it was, the outer edge of the city. You got like all these people who their desire line is going downtown, walking or cycling or just going to the next neighborhood for dinner or whatever. They have a massive detour, a mile on either way. The National Rail Company in Canada, they don't care. It's not our problem. The city of Montreal is going, come on, you got to make a level crossing. It's your railway. And now we have like thousands of people. They're going, we don't care. So the people of Montreal, thousands of them, cut holes in the fences every single day. These are just regular citizens. They're not activists, man, anarchists. No, this is like, I got to go to work. And they have a Facebook group. So you're going to work in the morning, you're going, oh, the holes. The railway company patches them up all the time, really demonstrably. Oh, I got a hole. Oh, where's the hole? Oh, it's gone. Damn, let me check the group. Oh, there it is. Okay. And you got just regular people breaking the law all day long. These are people telling you that there should be a dam level crossing there, that the city and the railway company are not doing enough to listen to their desire lines. You see it all over the world. Once you start seeing desire lines, you cannot unsee them. Seriously, you see them everywhere. This is like Montreal on the left. You know, the stairs, that pathway. Oh, I don't know, what that planner was smoking that day, but geez, like a couple of stairs. Like that person doesn't have a bike, does not have a baby carriage. Doesn't have to have. I'm just gonna make it like put the little steps and put some boulders there as a little salute to the glacial age, or I don't know what they're thinking, right? The people in Montreal have spoken on they say that sucks. So I got to ride my bike or push my pram here, right? On the right, Edinburgh, same thing. Like the designers, the engineers, they did not simply look up and see bike racks filled at the university 20 meters farther along. They just built stairs. And the people are going, yeah, that's stupid. So you can see the way their desire lines are carved in the dirt, right? They're telling us stuff. They're sending us messages in a bottle. This is in my neighborhood on the left. The city doesn't want you to cycle there, so they made a pathway. There was a desire line through the grass when they remodeled this area. They re-landscaped it. The people carved a desire line, in about 8 seconds. All the cyclists get into the bike lane at the back. The city went, oh, fine. So they put in a pathway, but they made it like, teeth rattling so that you wouldn't cycle too fast. Like, you did that once, you never did it again. You can look at the lines on either side. The people are going, that's stupid. The people are judging your design, going, yeah, that sucks. I'm not going to do that. The city went back and went, okay, fine. Oh, and they made it a little bit better. And now it took 3 attempts for my taxpayer money to actually make it properly. So it's better now. It's not that. It's better now. But the citizens are saying, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. Or if you do something well, that's good, that's good, that's good. Same in Medellin, another one. The city legitimized the desire lines. They listened to the urban democracy, the people. They just put in a pathway. Instead of that 90-degree turn, which looks great in an engineering manual, the people are going, why do I do that? I got to go there, right? So desire lines. Toronto as well, a shocking lack of public seating in their downtown. There's activists buy like $8 chairs from IKEA, and they store them at somebody's house, and they say, you want to do an intervention today? Cool. They just take out these chairs, and they just put them in public space. And then they sit over here and watch. And it's like 4 seconds, like, oh, got a chair. There's nowhere to sit in downtown Toronto, so they map it out, right? It's amazing stuff. And it's just regular 4 young people who got some money, put it together, and did this. Data, man, it's got to be one of the most important things for every city. The level of data that Copenhagen collects is epic. It's really the city in the world that gathers the most. There's a website, unfortunately it's only in Danish, but it tells you absolutely everything. These are bicycle counts. So you can see how many cyclists are at these intersections. And we count 200 times, 200 places around the city twice a year. We have permanent sensors. You zoom in on that, a little thing, a PDF you can download to get all the data. Citizens have instant access to the data. This is noise levels on all the streets. Citizens, that's a stupid street, man. That's noisy. Oh, I can see why. It's purple. And so the city measures, and they give it to the citizens to use. This is where we've put in noise reduction asphalt as well, and where it's coming. Everything you want. Where the garbage cans are located, you name it. Amazing. If you don't have that in your city, you got friends who have phones. One of the great activists I know in Canada just made this for free. Counterpoint. It's a cool counting app. There's some other ones out there now. You just download it and you sit at a cafe and on the beach or wherever you are, and you just do a quick 15-minute count, 30-minute count. Not just bikes, like everybody using the space. Then it uploads to the cloud. You can download it later. You can go in and say, oh, somebody counted here on a Wednesday. Cool. I'm going to have a beer and I'm going to count here on a Friday. I want to see if it's different. It's really cool. This is like activating citizens, and whoever has the most data in a city wins. If it's the citizens, the politicians better watch out. If it's the politicians, it generally works out well for the citizens. Enabling citizens is the new city planning. Following is the new leading, period. That's all it is. We're clever. The collective skill set in this room is amazing. But man, when a 3rd grade class is better than all of us, you gotta listen to these people. The citizens, the grandmas, everybody who lives in the neighborhood. Somebody asked me once, what's a good street? This is, complete streets, safe streets. I don't really care all the different terminology, what you're calling all of these different things. A good street, we've had them for 7,000 years. We can have them again. For me, a good street, no one gets hurt while transporting themselves down it. and people get healthy while transporting themselves down it. It's that simple, right? Cycling and walking, right? Safe street design. You know, we know how to do it. This is not a theory. Everything we absolutely need in our urban toolbox has already been invented. It's ready to use today, right off the shelf. We're trying to build monuments now, right? We're not just making cities better. We're literally trying to redefine our cities for the first time in a century. And we're trying to build beautiful urban monuments that will stand for hundreds of years, fixing all the mistakes we made in the 50s and 60s. And it's happening around the world, so let the monuments rise. Thank you.